Here's the reason: God rested from all his work that he had done in creation. Now, first of all, what we're doing, we're looking at this word holy that we find here in verse 3. Also, you will notice that this word has nothing technically to refer to God. We're not talking about God. We're actually talking about a day or a time period that is called holy. Now, this word here, holy, kadash is the word, and it primarily means to make clean and consecrate or hallow. Now, since the fall hasn't happened yet and there's no sin around, we know that this must not have anything to refer to sin. So we have to get out of our mind this thinking, well, this day must be sinless compared to the others, or all the other days were sinful or had something wrong with them, and this last day is a better day or a perfect day or a holy day without sin. That is not the case. It makes it clear here, it is because God rested from all his works that he had done on that day. He blessed it. So God could take any day of the week and bless it, and it becomes holy. And he chose to do this on the last day, indicating that it is distinctive, different from the others. It is distinguished. It is different. In other words, it is unique. So now we're getting a sense of what the primary idea of this root word kodash means, and that means to be distinct or different, or in that case, unique. So God made this day special because of who he is and what he had done on the other days. And he was really, in a sense, making the seventh day a memorial day, reminding us of his creative power, what he did, all his greatness. So, working 6 days, and now on the last day, it is remembering. It's a memorial, and that day became a holy day. Incidentally, we use the word holy day quite often. We just happen to say it a little different. We say holiday. It comes from the same word. Holiday means holy day. We have holidays, holy days. And so this is where it comes from. Let's go to the book of Exodus. Exodus chapter 3. And now Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro, the priest of Midian. And he led his flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb. And Horeb is another name for Sinai, or Mount Sinai, the mountain of God. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. So the angel of the Lord appears to him where in a flame of a fire out of the midst of a bush. Now he looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. So you have a burning bush that's not burning. So you figure that out so that you have an idea. It's on fire, but it's not being destroyed. So Moses said, I will turn aside to see this great sight, why the bush is not burned, especially here in the desert, where everything is so hot and so dry that anything that would just start up, it would be gone in a few moments, especially like a bush. But this thing would not be destroyed or extinguished. And so he goes over. And when the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. Twice he uses his name. It's emphatic. This shows that he knows Moses by name. He knows him personally. The fact that he says his name twice, he's trying to get his attention and point out to him what he's about to say is very, very important. And of course Moses says, here am I. What do you want? Basically, we probably would say. Incidentally, it makes it clear here, at least in this passage, that the angel of the Lord and God are one and the same person. Who that is, that could be the second person of the Godhead, but in any case, it says here, God called out to him. And notice it says in verse 5, then he said, do not come near. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is what? Holy ground. And he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. Now, as we look at this here, the verse teaches us several things. Looking at verse 5, do not come near. Take off your sandals, take off your shoes off your feet, for the place in which you are standing is holy ground. A couple things I would like to bring to your attention. First of all, this thing teaches us several truths here. Because there is a barrier between God and man, Yahweh here cannot be approached just any old time or any old way. He says to him, you need to take off your sandals. Now, why the sandals? Why not the robe? Or why not everything? Or whatever? Why the sandals? Well, sandals usually represent, we know even in the New Testament, about the dust that gets on your feet. And that is usually symbolic of the dust and the dirt and the impurities of this world. And so it implies here, he is to approach God clean. And he is to come before God in a clean attitude, in a clean manner. That's why on this day of the week, the first day of the week, is a holy day for us, a holiday because of Jesus Christ being raised from the dead. This is a special day for us. He made it special because of his resurrection. We are to come clean, pure, not only inwardly but outwardly, getting ourselves ready, prepared to worship him and to approach him. So even the removing of footwear has been a sign of humility and reverence to God, even to this day in the East. But looking here, he says, in verse 5, do not come, take your sandals off, for what you're standing on is what? Holy ground. Well, why is this holy ground? Why is this ground holy? I mean, it's just dirt. It's just sand and rocks and whatever. What makes it holy? Is it because this dirt is sinless and all the rest of the dirt in the world is sinful? No. It's because Yahweh was present and he manifested himself at that time in this place. He made this place unique. He made this spot distinct. That is what is being brought out with this word here, holy. Holy because the Lord chose to reveal himself here. Now, we know he's omnipresent, he's everywhere, but he manifested himself in a unique way here, in a flame. And what is this? And when he got closer, he spoke to Moses, and he says, do not approach unless you take off your sandals. And so we need to approach him in the right way, and he manifested himself. And it was distinct because of what God did and what God was to him. So, in other words, that was not distinct because of Moses and because of what he did. Sometimes we say, well, that's Saint so-and-so or Saint Agnes or whatever. You know, the only reason why we are called saints is because of God. He makes us holy. We can't go around and say, oh, well, I'm special. No. Paul wrote to the saints that were in Ephesus and other places. He referred to them as holy ones. But we're holy because we are associated and identified with God. That's the only reason. He is the one that gives us this holiness. Let's go to chapter 12 of Exodus. This deals with what is called the Passover. And because of what God did in sparing the firstborn of Israel, because they obeyed, because they did what they were told, killing the lamb, putting the blood on the doorpost, and putting them around the door. Verse 14, chapter 12, this day shall be for you a memorial day. So once again, a day becomes a special day. Just like we might do with, we call Thanksgiving, right? We make that a special day, don't we? And it's usually, as far as I know, on a Thursday, right? But how many other Thursdays are not special Thursdays? You go out and work, you do this and everything else, you don't think about it. So what what becomes that special day to us? Because it's a memorial day to us. And in that sense, it becomes a holiday or a holy day, a special day. So this is the same way. Verse 14, this day shall be memorial to you. You shall keep it as a feast to the Lord throughout your generations, as a statute forever. You shall keep it as a feast. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven out of your houses. For if anyone eats what is leavened from the first day until the 7th day, that person shall be cut off from Israel. Now, verse 16, on the first day you shall hold a holy assembly or convocation. And on the 7th day, a holy assembly. So, the first day and the last day. First day and the 7th day is called a what kind of day? A holy day. No work shall be done. Now this is referring to occupational work. How do we know that? Because of what he says at the rest here. But what everyone needs to eat, that alone may be prepared for you. So if you need to prepare food, that's fine. But we're talking about your occupation. You're a carpenter and you're making a cabinet. You're not to be doing that day. But if you need to prepare food, okay. But what I want to get back to is here, this becomes a holy assembly, a holy group. Now, because of what was done by God, they were to have a special day. And what was that? He spared the firstborn of Israel. And it was to become a memorial to the whole nation. And remembering, God did this. God spared. And because of what God did, these special days became distinct, different from other days. As a result, they were called holy days. And the people were told a holy convocation. They were called a holy assembly or a holy convocation. These days were set aside to make them different to the ordinary days throughout the year. That's why the first day of the week is special to us, because of what the Lord did on that day. He rose from the grave. Let's go to chapter 13, verse 2 of Exodus. And it says here in verse 1 and 2, the Lord said to Moses, consecrate. Same word, Kadash is the same word here. Literally, make holy to me all the firstborn. Whatever is the first to open the womb among the people of Israel, both of man and beast, is mine. And then later on in the chapter he explains what needs to be done and why it needs to be set apart. Well, I'll just briefly explain here. Why did God do this, or why did God make this evident to the people? Because the fact that he spared the firstborn. And it was a reminder from generation down to generation, from millennia to the millennia, for these people to remind them of what God did. And as a result, the firstborn became special or consecrated or made holy. Now, were they sinless? No. Were they better than the other children? No. But they were, in a sense, an illustration, an indication that God had spared the firstborn for the nation of Israel. They became his and set apart and holy. We are set apart unto the Lord as believers, as Christians, and we are to remember that we are holy unto the Lord. Now, let me just summarize what we have talked about thus far. On the negative side, what we have seen thus far, this word here, holy, has nothing to do with sin. At least this part here. Now, we'll see later on, probably next week or the week after, we'll see that it does have some element of separation from sin. But we haven't really seen that at all here. It's nothing to do with sin. This day is sinless and all the others are sinful, or this ground over here is sinless and all the rest of the dirt around the world is sinful. It has nothing to do with that. It is called holy because of what God has done. Its primary meaning is to be consecrated or dedicated to the Lord, making it different, making it distinct and different from other people or other things. So, when God takes away the sanctified it, or holy, because on it